Right, hello, I'm Mr Craven, and I'm Senior Director of English for NET. Now, this is the second of two quick talk-throughs on the theme of poverty and wealth in A Christmas Carol. In the previous little video, if you haven't seen it, I was focusing very much on the negative view of money and wealth early in the novel. And this second one, we're going to move on to looking at the positive view of wealth. In a sense, in the previous one, it was the problem, and in this one, we're going to look at the solution. Okay, so what is the alternative view, the solution? Now, Marley's ghost points the way. Mankind was my business, he wails. The common welfare was my business. And it's that important semantic difference between business defined as monetary profit and business as the topics that should concern and occupy us that's really at the heart of this. Our business, Dickens is essentially telling us, should be people. Now, if Scrooge and Marley are a model for the wrong way to view money, as far as Dickens is concerned, we are also offered a range of characters who view money the right way. Now, when we first meet Fred in Stave 1, Scrooge describes Fred as being poor enough, and Scrooge also ridicules Fred's comment that he fell in love, that he, Fred, prioritised human connection, that he remained emotionally open to the world. Now, it's related to Scrooge's contempt for Bob. 15 shillings a week and a wife and a family, talking about a Merry Christmas. Bob's family, note, are defined as an expense, as a burden, as a cost. Now, it's clear from the rest of the novel that Fred isn't poor in the way that we would define it now. The party, the lifestyle, the piano, the food, the housekeeper who escorts Scrooge upstairs in Stave 5. Fred may not be wealthy, but neither is he impoverished. Scrooge, erroneously, seems to view the choice as simply being, essentially being between being rich, and being poor. He misses that it's possible to balance both. Now, I've come across a number of students who describe the two portly gentlemen in Stave 1 as being charity workers, and there is a misunderstanding there. Now, these two characters are collecting. They are endeavouring to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink. But these are businessmen buying into the festive spirit. It's much like the giving of Maundy money. There's a Victorian Christmas tradition in which the wealthy give support at Christmas so that those who are less fortunate are able to also celebrate Christmas as a festival. As Fred notes, Christmas in this sense is a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. It's the exact antithesis of Scrooge, of Marley, or of the characters in the Beetling shop who are described in Stave 4. Now, it's important also that these two gentlemen are portly. Dickens associates physical size with taking pleasure from life. Scrooge is hard, he's sharp, he's nipped, pointed, shrivelled. Scrooge doesn't indulge in light, in warmth, in food, luxury, or any kind of pleasure, it seems. Instead, he eats his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern, and then has a little saucepan of gruel in front of a very low fire, which is nothing on such a bitter night. The same applies to Christmas. Now, Scrooge tells Fred to keep Christmas in your own way and let me keep it in mine. But Fred notes the problem with this, that you don't keep it. The portly gentlemen, in contrast, are wealthy. Their physical size shows that they enjoy their wealth, that they, take pleasure in life. But these characters also seek to improve the lives of others. Now, this is also true of Fezziwig. Now, Fezziwig wears a capacious waistcoat. He has a rich, fat, jovial voice. Fezziwig is someone who balances the hard work of his employees with opportunities for entertainment, and he also ensures that the warehouse is warm and bright. Now, in addition to dancing and music, these social pleasures in which Fezziwig and his family partake as well, Fezziwig has also provided a generous amount of food and drink. There's cake, negus, a great piece of cold roast, cold boiled, mince pies, beer, porter. Fezziwig is, again, someone who has money, someone who enjoys his own money. but also someone who uses that money to better others and to provide joy to others through shared experiences. As Scrooge points out, it's not that Fezziwig has spent but a few pounds of your mortal money. It's that the happiness he gives is quite as great as if it cost a fortune. Generosity in terms of food and drink, the taking of pleasure, is also clear in the description of the shops in Stave 1 and of the provision made by the Lord Mayor. It's there in the description of the shops in Stave 3, in the Cratchit's meal in Stave 3, in Fred's party in Stave 3, and in the description of the Ghost of Christmas Present. Now, when the Ghost of Christmas Present first appears, he sees it on a kind of throne. Now, that throne is made of turkeys, geese, game, poultry, brawn, great joints of meat, sucking pigs, long wreaths of sausages, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, cherry-cheeked apples, juicy oranges, luscious pears, immense twelfth cakes, and seething bowls of punch. Yeah. And how is the ghost described? Well, it's a jolly giant with a capacious breast. Yes, emotionally open, and with generosity of spirit to spare, pun intended, but also, again, linking physical size and taking pleasure from food with joy. Now, what these all have in common is a focus on the use to which money is put. When characters are wealthy, they enjoy their wealth, but they also make use of it to improve the lives of others. When characters have little wealth, they still take appropriate pleasures both in food and drink, and also in the communal experiences that food and drink offer. Think, for example, of the excitement of the Cratchit family regarding the goose and the stuffing. Think of the pudding. It's a small pudding for a large family, yes, but it's a shared source of connective and collective joy. Think of the Cratchits appreciating the value of what they have in terms of the pudding, yes, and in terms of the display of glass, but they're also grateful for what they have. Think, for example, of the toast to Scrooge, and they're also grateful for each other. And it's the same sense we get, isn't it, in terms of the description of Belle's family in Stave 2. Now, value for Marley's ghost, for Fred, for Fan, for Belle, for Bob, for the Cratchits, for Dickens, we assume. Value is to be found in taking opportunities for joy, and most importantly, in human connection. And as a final point, think about how these are all drawn together at the end of the novel. Scrooge, giddy as a drunken man, buys a turkey for the Cratchits, essentially as a prank. Scrooge gives money to the boy in Sunday clothes. He finds shaving difficult because he's trying to dance at the same time. Scrooge pays a great many back payments to the portly gentleman. He enjoys the wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful unanimity, wonderful happiness at Fred's house. Scrooge promises Bob that he will raise his salary, and they'll discuss it over a bowl of smoking bishop, which is a mulled wine punch, as well as lighting up the fires. Scrooge instead finds value in people, becoming a second father to Tiny Tim, as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew, and someone who keeps Christmas well. Notice that Scrooge remains a master. He's not someone who's given up his wealth or his business. He's someone who uses his wealth, uses his power positively and sympathetically. Ultimately, A Christmas Carol is not an attempt to argue for the radical redistribution of wealth or to criticise the acquisition of wealth. What it is, instead, is a reaffirmation of Christian principles, of Victorian values. It's a model, in terms of Dickens' intention, for the positive application and integration of wealth within society. Right, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully that's been useful. Do, as ever, discuss any questions, queries, comments, that sort of thing with your teachers, who I'm sure will be delighted to debate, discuss, and so on as needed. Take care.